Hello everyone, welcome back to the Undercut. Today we're going to be talking about the driver pairings for the F1 2025 season and their head-to-heads. Who will come out on top? Will it be teammate A or teammate B? We're going to go through all 10 teams competing in this season, and another massive caveat is we're going to assume that of course there will be no driver swaps mid-season. That message is out there for Jack Doohan. Mostly because we're assuming
he's not even making it to mid-season.
No, exactly. Like, he's going to be... I think Colapinto is going to be in there. But we can't assume that at the moment. Jack Doohan is obviously in that seat. So we're just going to work with that. Anyway, let's just jump straight in, shall we? Teammate head-to-head. Who's going to win out between Gabriel Bortoleto and Nico Hülkenberg?
Yeah, obviously Bortoleto. Rookie coming in, great F2 season, F2 champion.
Yeah.
But Hulkenberg, he's a seasoned veteran now, isn't he? Well, he's been for a while, and we shown himself last season. Very quick, very quick actually. And yeah, I do think Hulkenberg will be coming out on top at the end of the season.
I also agree. I've gone with Nico Hülkenberg. I think he's just the experience, isn't it? And yeah, I know we had Zhou Guanyu scoring the points for Sauber last season, and in hindsight, with the season that Bottas and Zhou had, you would have assumed that it would have been Bottas scoring the points. But no, one odd race can sort of turn the tides. We saw it with Robert Kubica in 2019. Got whitewashed by George Russell in that Williams, but Kubica was where it mattered when you know the points needed to be scored. So that kind of race can happen, and with the Sauber being as slow as we think it will be, Bortoleto could have one or two really good races, and that car could just end up being in the top 10 when he needs it the most. But we'll have to see. I think on paper, it's sensible to go with Hülkenberg.
Yeah.
Let's move on then to, of course, finishing in 9th place in the Constructors' Championship, which was actually kind of surprising because I thought they had a better season than that, is actually Williams.
Yeah, well, this is a difficult one for Williams.
Yeah, it's actually one of the more interesting driver pairings.
It is interesting. Obviously, 9th place, so we're getting to him quite early. So the 9th in 2024. I'm not surprised by that. In contrast to you, they had a shocking season. But it's between Sainz and Albon. I'm going with Carlos Sainz here. I think Carlos Sainz just has a naturally more raw pace than Albon does. And I think he will just edge it in terms of nicking them points when it's needed.
I agree. I think it's going to be close. I think this is probably, actually, the closest driver pairing on the grid. Hot take. I know. Some people would disagree. Some people would probably say it's McLaren's or maybe even Ferrari's. I disagree. I think this is the closest driver pairing we have. Both very competent drivers, both capable of getting the maximum out of the car, but I do believe Sainz will edge it, as you said. Albon, I think, will do brilliantly this season. I think it could be by a couple of points, and I think it could be by 1 or 2 championship positions, but I do think it will be Carlos Sainz. Let's move on then to the junior team for Red Bull Racing. It is, of course, the Racing Bulls with Yuki Tsunoda and Isaac Hadjar.
Yeah, unfortunately for Hadjar, I think this could be a Yuki landslide this season.
It's not as close as the Williams one, is it really? Or even
I don't
Sauber.
think it'll be as close as the Sauber one either.
No.
I think Yuki's just gonna put his foot down and show him who's boss.
There's 2 elements to this though, because Hadjar obviously did well in Formula 2.
Yeah.
Not as well as Bortoleto, but still did well.
Yeah.
We don't know how he's going to convert into F1. But I think for me, I don't know about you, it's more on the side that I think Yuki's going to be fired up by everything that happened with Red Bull last season.
I'm not dissing Hadjar's pace. I think Hadjar's going to be rapid, but I think Yuki's coming into this season with a more fire, more anger, more reason to prove himself now.
Yeah.
And I think that's just it. He's just going to whitewash it.
Yuki's going to
determination.
Absolutely, Yuki's going to try and prove why he deserves that Red Bull seat this season,
and try and take it.
Yeah, exactly, and we'll see if that happens. Obviously.
So
7th in the championship was Haas, which, looking back on the season they had, is actually really unfortunate for them.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, obviously, came the final few races between RB, Haas, and Alpine. Obviously, yeah, Gasly pulling Alpine over the line.
But this year is a bit more unknown because they have a completely different driver lineup.
Yes, but an ex-Alpine driver from last season there in Esteban Ocon, a rookie in Oliver Bearman. Now this is interesting. I think overall at the end of the season championship, I think Ocon will beat Bearman. I do. I think Ocon will score the most points. However, I would just like to say now, I think Bearman will beat Ocon in head-to-head in qualifying.
Okay.
But overall, in race points, it will be Ocon.
Yeah. I think this one's actually really close. I think
it's quite close.
I think it's closer than a lot of people think. I think Haas will be best of the rest this year, even over Aston Martin. Now it's a bold prediction from me, but that's
quite bold.
That is my belief. So I sort of think the Ocon Bearman battle will be quite close. I think we'll see races where Bearman really shows his talent.
Yeah.
But we'll also see races where Ocon shows his experience, just like we did in Brazil last season, and obviously the race when he got in Hungary a few years back. So I do think it will be Ocon by the skin of his teeth. Maybe not as close as Albon and Sainz, but I do think it's going to be close.
Yeah.
Going into 6th is, of course, Alpine. Somehow they managed 6th last year. We don't know how with the tractor they had at the start of the season.
I can tell you how Pierre Gasly.
They did, and Pierre Gasly is now up against rookie Jack Doohan if we assume he isn't getting replaced.
Yeah, I think this is the easiest one.
Yeah, unfortunately for Jack Doohan it is. And it takes a lot for us to say that because Max Verstappen exists on this list.
Yeah, Max Verstappen does, but I think Gasly has... Yeah, Gasly's just going to... Doohan's not going to exist.
No.
That's it. I've written Doohan off. He is a Sargent, a Latifi, a Sirotkin.
No, not Sergey.
Yeah, he's a Mazepin.
No, you can't do him like that.
I am. I think Gasly's just going to show where the Alpine is, and Doohan's going to show the Alpine about 5 laps back.
Well, I mean, I do agree. I mean, maybe not 5 laps back, but yeah, Jack.
5 laps is an exaggeration, but
yeah, I mean, Pierre Gasly will beat out Jack Doohan. I mean, that's just it's not even a question. I would put my entire life savings, house, everything on the line. I'd even play Russian roulette to bet on Pierre Gasly beating Jack Doohan this season. So
yeah, I mean, it's probably worth to put a bet on. Just like put a £3 bet on Doohan to beat Gasly this season. You'll probably come out with a £3,000 winnings.
Yeah.
Easy.
Or you know what you could do? You could put on like a £20,000 bet on Gasly to beat Doohan, and then get a return of like £25,000. I know obviously the stakes won't be high, but if you put enough money on, you could get a decent return.
Yeah.
It's worth the risk.
Yeah.
It's worth the risk. Halfway through, we've agreed on every single one so far.
We have, and I'm not that surprised though.
I'm not surprised either, but it is unusual.
I mean, they were all rookies in there as well, weren't they?
Yeah, they were actually. Yeah, they were.
Yeah. So
apart from Williams, we didn't bet on one single rookie, by the way.
No, and that's the thing. They are all partnered against, arguably. Many people would argue for each case that they're the best midfield driver.
Yeah.
So there'll be a Ocon corner back in Ocon. There'll be a Yuki corner back in Yuki. Gasly, for me, I'm in a Gasly corner. And
there's a lot of Hülkenberg fans.
Yeah, you could be one of them Hülkenberg backers.
Yep.
So yeah, I think the rookies will have a hard fight against.
Yeah, you make a good point. Out of the midfield drivers we do have left of the experienced ones, it's probably the best four you've got really. So
barring the Williams duo,
barring the and Valtteri Bottas, to just honourable mention by the way, in that. Let's move on then to Aston Martin, who have Fernando Alonso, Lance Stroll. We said Pierre Gasly and Jack Doohan's the easiest. I think we may have forgotten about this one.
No, because it's going to be an Alonso whitewash. Don't get me wrong, but the thing that Stroll has that Doohan doesn't, he will have one moment this season.
Yes, yeah. Stroll always has his moments.
He will have his moments where he will outdo Fernando on a weekend or two.
Yes.
Where I don't see Doohan doing that at all against Pierre Gasly. So, but it will be Alonso come the end of the season quite comfortably.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Fernando Alonso, it's just... one thing I will say, though, is I do think they will be closer in points this year, only because Fernando, I don't think, will be able to extract as much, because I think the Aston Martin's going backwards. But performance-wise, I think Fernando is going to do what he's done to Stroll the last few years.
I agree.
So it's one of them, isn't it? So it might not look as good as it did the last few years, but it almost certainly will be as whitewashed. Let's move on then to the big four, starting off with Mercedes. Another rookie, Kimi Antonelli, partnering now the team leader, Georginio Russell.
Yes. Well, we've seen what George can do against Lewis over a season. I think Kimi Antonelli's it's going to be one of them seasons where we're going to be pulling our hair out one week and clapping his brilliance another week.
Yeah.
And George will just be going round every week pretty consistently. So it will be George, but I would not be surprised if Kimi does outdo him several times in the season.
I completely agree. Yeah, there will be races where Kimi Antonelli shows unfathomable, blistering pace.
Yeah.
I reckon pace that reminds us a lot of Max in his early days, Lewis in his early days, an early Fernando Alonso, that kind of pace.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to go, wow, this kid's special. But over a course of a season, I think obviously George has now got the facilities. Like you said, he's learned a lot from Lewis Hamilton. He's been at Mercedes now for a while. He's managed to beat Lewis twice in 3 seasons. He's transformed into this consistent driver. We've had a lot of criticism over George George for the last few years. Crashes here, mistakes there. Maybe bar the start of last season, I think relatively it was a very consistent season, arguably his best season in the sport. So I think
how crazy is this though?
What?
Obviously, the stat that George beat Lewis 2 out of 3 seasons, but Lewis still outpoint scored George over all 3 seasons.
Yeah,
that's quite crazy. That.
Yeah, 2023 was
a year to forget for George.
It was sort of a tale of both halves, really. It was a year to forget for George, but it was also arguably, I'd argue anyway, even though Hamilton's won 7 titles, I argue it's one of probably Hamilton's best seasons he's ever had.
Better ones, yeah.
Because he didn't win a race, he didn't win the title, but he extracted pretty much everything out of that Mercedes and almost beat Perez in a Red Bull that won all bar 1 race. So that's Sir Lewis Hamilton for you right there. So, I think it was a tale of both halves for 2023, and that's probably why that's sort of swayed that way. But still, George has done the business in 2 other seasons. Let's move on then to Red Bull. We touched on it earlier.
Yeah, we did. Max and Liam. I think anyone who bets against Max winning this is deluded. So I'm gonna do it. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, Liam to beat Max.
Yeah, no, it will be Max. I don't see whoever's in that car beating Max over the course of a season. To be honest with you, no matter what pace it gives. It's Max Verstappen.
Yeah, I mean, despite maybe one or two mistakes, Max does have the pace to extract everything from that car every weekend.
Yeah.
I just, it's just silly, isn't it, to even discuss? I mean, it's just it's Max.
Pretty much.
All day. It's Max all day. Let's move swiftly on then to Ferrari. Now, this is the tasty one, isn't it?
This is probably up there with Williams in terms of tasty.
Yeah, and I think McLaren's is as well.
I think McLaren's is as well, but I think there is a clear front runner in McLaren. Whereas these two...
There's an unknown because Hamilton's now joined the team and we've never seen Hamilton go up against anyone in a Ferrari. So there is that unknown. Yeah. I'll just say one thing. I'm gonna say I think they'll be close. I think they will be both involved in the championship fight at some point or another.
Yeah.
But come the end of the season, it'll be Charles Leclerc.
Yeah,
it will be. I mean, don't get me wrong. If Hamilton is, Hamilton's in an unfortunate position really because if he joined Ferrari in 2024, the grace period of getting used to the team, getting used to the car, 2025 could be his year to go for it. But now he's got to go through that phase, not knowing whether Ferrari are going to be competitive enough to win the title in 26. They almost certainly are in 2025. In fact, I'd say they're one of the favourites. Charles and Lewis for the title, along with Norris and Verstappen, maybe Piastri. So, Lewis is sort of in an unfortunate position. He's got to get used to the car. Let's also hope his qualifying isn't, as bad as it's been recently.
Yeah.
I think Charles will beat him this season.
I think Charles will beat him. However, if Lewis doesn't go through that grace period where he's got to get used to the car and he hits the nail running straight away like he did at McLaren 2007. Let's remember McLaren 2007, first season Formula One rookie, goes straight off podium after podium after podium after podium. He could do that going to Ferrari. We don't know. Obviously, Mercedes was a bit different 2013. But if he does that at Ferrari like he did in 2007 at McLaren, he could definitely beat Charles. But I'm going with Charles right now.
Yeah, it's depending on Hamilton being comfortable. If he's comfortable come Australia, and like you said, he hits the ground running,
could be over.
It could be. I definitely would not say it's over. I think Hamilton has the edge. But I definitely wouldn't say. I mean, we're talking about Charles Leclerc here. I don't think it's over, but I definitely think Hamilton has the edge.
Yeah,
but I'm gonna go with Charles on this one.
I agree.
And also, just throw this in there as well. I think Charles Leclerc will win the world title. So just put it out there.
I agree with that.
I think he's world champion.
I think he is world champion as well.
Yeah. Let's move on then to McLaren. So we're 9 for 9 right now, by the way. We've agreed on all of these.
We are 9 for 9.
9 for 9.
I think we're about to be 10 for 10.
Yeah. Let's talk about it.
Lando Norris. I think he's proven last season he was the one that McLaren should have backed from probably before Hungary, but Hungary onwards. And I think he still will have that edge over Piastri, just that little bit more pace, consistency and pace, getting ahead when he needs to get ahead, extracting the tyres properly. I think Lando will have the edge over Oscar this season again. And yeah, it's pretty easy, that one.
It's easy, but also I think it's sort of difficult. Only because I think it really just depends what Lando does. Oscar's going to improve no matter what. He's in that phase of his career where he's still sort of learning the ropes. He's learned the ropes, but he's still got inconsistencies. A lot of what we'll see from Kimi Antonelli this year is still sort of present in Oscar Piastri. I think once Oscar irons out those creases, he has shown he has the pace to beat Lando Norris quite convincingly on occasion. Lando also has to go a step further. He has to improve his starts consistently. He has to be there when it matters, not get caught out in qualifying, etc. These little mistakes are what lost him the title last year. Yeah. He's got to have them in there. So do you think he will?
I think Lando will be fine. I think Lando will be, again, in a championship battle, bit more of one with Charles. And I think it'll be a Charles and Lando battle come. Maybe not Abu Dhabi. Maybe more Vegas. But I think it'll be like close between them two. I think Oscar, again, as you said, if I do see them mistakes from Oscar now, though, it'll be similar to Kimi Antonelli. That's not on anymore. It's his third season in Formula One now. It's not on to see the kind of mistakes that we saw at Spain qualifying, for example. Mm-hmm. That's not on for Oscar. He's got to step up and cut out these mistakes now if he wants to have a real fight and real say in a championship. If he doesn't do that now, I don't know. I don't know where he'll be.
Here's a little bonus question then before we finish the video. Do you think there is a chance that this title fight involves more than just maybe Charles, Lando, maybe Max?
Yes.
Who?
Lewis.
Oscar?
No.
No. Okay.
Not Oscar. It will... I don't think it'll include Max either.
That's hot. That's a hot take.
I don't think the Red Bull will be there. I think McLaren and Ferrari will be ahead. I think it'll be a Red Bull Mercedes battle, and I think it'll be a Ferrari McLaren battle. And I think Oscar will be there around mid-season, but he'll be at the back end of the four.
And then come the last two races, it might
two races, it'll just be Lando and Charles. Come the last five, Lewis will still be in the hunt, but I think Lewis will drop out potentially due to his poor start.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is the 2025 season. But either way, that is who we think will come out on top in the driver pairings this season. 10 for 10, we both agreed.
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments below what you think, and we'll see you in the next one.